Hey there, glad to have you here with me today. So we've been talking about sciatica in the last couple of videos, and this video, the third in a three-part series, is a series of seated chair poses. So it's not always accessible to get down on the floor. Could be you're in a hotel room, or it might be that because of other things happening in your body, you can't make it to the floor. But there are things you can do in the chair. So come join me in a chair. I've got mine set up right here. And take a comfortable seat. I have a yoga mat, but you don't need one. So when you have sciatic pain, a lot of it's coming from the lumbar spine, sometimes from the piriformis. So the first pose we're going to do seated here in the chair is cat-cow. So sit a little forward in your chair so you have some space behind your low back. And your hands can rest on your thighs. And to do cat-cow, we're going to inhale, make the spine long. And then exhale, round the back slightly, belly button towards spine. You notice I'm looking down towards the floor. Inhale now, draw the shoulders back and your hands may slide up your thighs and lift the chest. And you might lift your gaze or look straight ahead. So move back and forth between these twos. Exhaling, right, thinking about pressing out through the low back, creating some space. Inhaling, lengthening. One of the advantages of this pose, keep moving, is it helps to articulate all of the vertebrae in the spine, right? Bringing some motion here, lengthening, articulating all the vertebrae. Great pose. Let's do two more. And then come back to center. Right, notice how you feel. And feel free in any of these videos to stop where it's appropriate for you. The next pose we're going to do is knee to chest or Apanasana. Hard to do both knees when you're seated in the chair, so let's do it just one knee at a time. So bring one knee up. Now, depending upon what's happening in your hip, you might only be able to come to here. Right? If you can bring your hands around the front of the shin, it gives you a little firmer grip. Right? But do what works best for you. Take a breath in, get tall. And as you exhale, draw the thigh in without allowing your chest to round forward. So inhale, lift, knee moves away, exhale, bend the elbows and bring it in. Inhale, let the knee float away, and I'm going to show you how it looks if your hands are behind. And exhale, it might be just a small movement. And as you stretch out the back of the leg. Let's do two more on this side. Exhale, bringing the knee up and closer to the chest. Exhale, release. And last one. You might hold it here for a few breaths. That feels appropriate. And then release it down. Good. Always take a moment to resettle yourself. So sometimes I rock side to side in my chair. Right? Elongate your spine again. And let's do the same thing with the other side. So lifting that knee, grabbing around the back or the front of the shin. Inhale, get tall first, and then exhale. Bend your elbows, draw the knee in. Inhale, let your arms lengthen away. So notice my elbows get straight, but my knee doesn't go too far. Exhale, draw it in. Try and stay nice and long in your spine. So if this is uncomfortable and being on the floor is uncomfortable, a third option would be to try doing this laying down on your bed. Not as firm a surface. We'll do a couple more of these, so keep moving with your breath. But laying on the bed, you could do the exact same pose when you're just on your back. Let's do one last one. This time we'll hold it briefly. Make sure you're still breathing. And then release that leg down. Good. And take a moment here. Again, adjust your seat. Right? Take any movement you need to with the upper back. Important to practice self-care throughout the practice. All right. The next one is wonderful when we have piriformis syndrome, right? When it's a muscular contraction. So if you have something on your lumbar disc, this may or may not feel good. So watch the first time. So you're going to bring the right leg up and bring the ankle to rest across the opposite knee. Now, if this isn't accessible, what I often tell my students to do is to use a block. So let me grab one here from behind. Okay. If you don't have yoga blocks at home, you might turn in trash can turned upside down, right? Something like that. And then the foot could rest on here. And the block has 3 levels. So the block could be here, and you're going to be bringing the side of your foot to it. You can certainly take it on the shorter side, right? Or the third height option would be here. So all of these are possibilities. So I'm going to leave the block there and show you both versions. So let me come back to the first one, right? So here, what we're going to do is simply lift and lower the thigh. We're trying to bring some mobility, some yielding into that piriformis, which can be very tight. If you don't know what the piriformis is, take a look at the blog about that. Okay. So just gentle moving with the breath. If your foot is on the block, the same thing happens. The knee comes up, and then you reach it out to the side. A couple of times to lubricate that joint. Good. For the next part of this, from here now, you're going to draw the knee a little closer towards the opposite shoulder, right? So it's a little deeper movement and release. And you'll probably feel some stretching down in through the back of the thigh and into the glutes. Again, if you're on the block, you might have to move the block a little closer if that works for your knee, right? And you might come up more here and then open out. So you can experiment with this because it's going to be different for your body. And then the last part of that, I'll go back to the first variation, is we're going to move forward in order to use our upper body to bring a different angle of stretch to the piriformis. So inhale, find length in your spine, and exhale, take your torso forward. You may only have to go a few inches before you say, oh boy, do I feel that in the outer part of my sits bones, right, in the glutes. So you can stay here. If you find it's easing and you'd like to deepen the stretch, you can certainly go further forward. What I want you to avoid here is rounding your back. So sometimes I see people, I'm turning sideways for you, right, really hunched over, and that's not helping their spines at all. So make sure you stay nice and tall. That may limit how far forward you can come. Right? So even as you go forward, you want to keep extending, right, as if you were sitting up tall. Hold here for a few breaths and then slowly come out of the pose. I'll turn back around. Same thing as if you had your foot on the block, right? You would be here and you would come forward. So it's exactly the same. Okay, let's do that now to the opposite side. So I'm going to put the block off to the side. I'm going to bring my left ankle up to rest on my right knee. Right? And I'm going to just try pressing it away and release. Press it away and release. And after a couple of those, now we're going to draw the knee towards us and towards the opposite shoulder and release it back down. Draw it towards the opposite shoulder and back down. And obviously we're not expecting them to ever touch. And you want to move slowly and with awareness. We don't want big owies here. Should be gentle. Okay, and then coming back to center, we're going to take the forward fold. So first, lengthen through your spine. Create space in your spine so you have room to fold forward. And then engaging in your core, begin to lean towards that front leg. And you're doing the same thing whether your ankle is on your knee or on the block. Breathe here. If you feel some more release, feel free to move your chest closer to the shin. But if you're pretty upright but still getting a lot of sensation, stay where it's working for you. Take one more breath with me here. And then come up to center and release that leg. Good. And to relieve any tension in the low back, right, just windshield your knee slightly side to side. I'm holding the back of my chair. Just to release that tension. All right, so the last pose I'm going to offer to you in the chair for sciatica is a bound angle pose. So come to the very, very front edge of your chair, right? And we're going to take the knees out so that the soles of the feet come towards one another. They're not going to touch entirely because of the position, right? And we're going to use the exhale to start bringing the knees together very, very slowly, right? So let's come together in halves to begin. So take a breath in And as you exhale, slowly begin to bring your knees towards each other, moving about half the distance through the exhale. As soon as you finish the exhale, pause, take an inhale, and then use the next exhale to slowly and mindfully bring the knees and the thighs back together. Let's try that again, this time moving in thirds, so I have to move really slowly. So take the knees out, take a breath in, lengthen through the spine, keeping that length in the spine. As you exhale, engage your core muscles and bring the knees up 1/3 of the way, moving through the whole exhale. Inhale, pause, and exhale, come now 2/3 of the way. And if your thighs begin to shake a little bit, that's perfectly natural. Inhale, pause here, and exhale, bring them all the way back to touching. You're welcome to do that again, or even come up in fourth, or repeat, whatever works for you, right? When you are done with this whole series, right, sit back in your chair, right? Take a few moments here to be with any sensation, to notice how you're feeling. And then when you're ready, get up and move around. One of the things that can aggravate sciatica is sitting a lot. So getting up every maybe 15 to 20 minutes to take a little walk and get a glass of water, or walk and look out the window, see what's happening outside the window. Really important to move so that you continue to bring circulation to that area. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that this was helpful to you. Please feel free to reach out if you have questions or concerns. Wishing you a wonderful day. Namaste.